Levi's gets quiet. Then it hits. You can feel something moving behind the scenes, and the faithful is going to notice it sooner than most people want to admit. There's a chess move forming up front in protection, a defensive opening that could tilt the entire vibe, a phone that won't stop buzzing because of a quarterback, and a tough, slightly awkward talk about speed in the backfield. 4 pressure points, 1 timeline, and every single one ties back to a playoff run. Whew. Sit with that for a second. If you're riding with the Niner gang, tap like, subscribe, and drop a comment. What's the one that has you most on edge? Some things look minor on paper. They're not. A pick you didn't make. And suddenly the future of the franchise is staring right back at you. Like a pass rush, screaming off the edge on 3rd and long. The Bay has seen this movie. Eras don't always end with fireworks. Sometimes they end with one detail you kept pushing to later. Right now, that detail is protection. The side of the line that keeps the whole operation breathing when the pocket starts collapsing. And yeah, this decision is getting closer than it feels. Let's put a name on it. Trent Williams. He's still playing at a Hall of Fame level, still changing games just by lining up. And that's why San Francisco has been able to delay the uncomfortable part of this conversation. But the calendar doesn't care. He's heading into this upcoming season at 38, and there's a real contract and cap decision stretching into 2026 that the front office has to plan around. When your offense leans that hard on one elite left tackle, any uncertainty turns into a loud alarm. This is priority stuff. On the inside, the Niners have tried to build with day 2 investments, players like Dominic Pooney, development, growth, fit in the system. But the question the faithful keep circling back to is simple. Where's the successor at offensive tackle? Where's the guy you draft for tomorrow who might end up saving today if the body starts sending reminders? In recent years, San Francisco has had chances to swing early there and chose different paths. And that's why one name has really fueled the debate. In his latest mock draft, NFL.com's Bucky Brooks has the 49ers taking Georgia offensive lineman Monroe Freeling as a possible successor to Williams. Not a finished product, not a plug-and-play savior. This is tools, ceiling, a developmental bet. NFL.com's Lance Zierlein compared Freeling to Pittsburgh Steelers tackle Broderick Jones. Same Georgia pipeline, and the takeaway is pretty clear. The length and athleticism are exactly what teams chase. But he's still raw. Only 16 career starts. He has to fill out his frame, sharpen technique, clean up pass protection habits, and build more play strength so he can sustain blocks and finish. Zierlein's evaluation gets specific. Footwork issues after the punch, independent hand usage, that snatch and trap element that could help him recover. So yeah, there's some buyer beware on the tape. But if the coaching smooths it out, the ceiling is a quality NFL starter. Then you look at the size, 6'7", 315. In a Kyle Shanahan world, that kind of body can become a real weapon, if it's the right fit for the scheme. And this is where the tension lives. The 49ers have holes to fill this offseason. If there's real confidence Trent Williams still has multiple high-level seasons left, you can justify pushing the heir and replacement move down the road and using a first-round pick on another need, maybe wide receiver. But if there's even a small tremor, 2026 could be the year San Francisco finally breaks a long trend. They haven't drafted an offensive tackle on day 1 or 2 since Mike McGlinchey went number 9 overall back in 2018. Maybe Freeling is the prospect who changes that. And while the fan base is still processing that heavy, quiet decision up front, another door is starting to open. Slow, but loud enough to change the temperature in the locker room. Because defense is identity. Defense is response. And the 49ers need a new defensive coordinator after losing Robert Saleh to the Tennessee Titans head coaching vacancy. That's not just a job opening. That's a voice, a tone, a way you hunt quarterbacks. So of course Shanahan is watching the league-wide coaching chaos like a hawk. The 2026 carousel has been wild, and few teams captured that more than the Cleveland Browns. For a while, there was talk they were zeroing in on Los Angeles Rams offensive coordinator Nate Scheelhaase, or promoting from within by naming defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz as head coach. And yes, San Francisco was watching that closely, because if you think Schwartz would be an excellent Saleh replacement, you already know the reason. He's been one of the guys who's consistently given Shanahan's offenses problems. Before Cleveland hired Todd Monken, you could have bought the idea that the Browns were going to do whatever it took to keep Schwartz in the building, maybe even requiring a new head coach to work with him. That would have made it harder for the 49ers to pry him loose. But now the script turns. Monken is the head coach, and that creates a twist that could hand Shanahan and the Niners a clean opportunity. Several outlets have made it clear Schwartz would love another shot at being a head coach. But with nearly every desirable opening filled, outside of the Arizona Cardinals and Las Vegas Raiders jobs, waiting another year or two might be the smarter move. And as far as Cleveland goes, NFL Network's Tom Pelissero has indicated Schwartz's tenure there is coming to a conclusion, seemingly by Schwartz's own actions, which means he's on track to become a coordinating free agent. Real question, if that's sitting there, how do you not pick up the phone? Yes, the 49ers have a safe internal option in assistant head coach Gus Bradley, who already knows the players and would implement a familiar scheme. Continuity matters. But football isn't played on comfort. It's played on matchups, timing, and who can maximize what you have right now. Schwartz's defenses in Cleveland have had real, recent success, and that matters when you're trying to round out your roster and win games in January. The contrast in the original breakdown is blunt. Bradley's prior defenses haven't flashed the kind of dominance people remember from the Seattle Seahawks nearly 15 years ago, while Schwartz has been producing lately. If he's not going back to the Browns, San Francisco has to take advantage, because if the Niners hesitate, somebody else won't. This is the kind of move that doesn't pop on a highlight reel, but it can decide an entire season. And speaking of phones ringing, this next one is a different kind of tension. Not panic, not desperation, more like opportunity wrapped in leverage. The 49ers have said they won't trade Mac Jones, but they'll listen to offers. Translation, he's not being given away for free. The league hears that and starts doing the math immediately. Because when a quarterback sits in that weird space, not for sale, but not untouchable, teams talk themselves into a call. Some franchises are stuck. Some are uneasy. Some don't really have a plan. And when the calendar tightens, teams aren't always hunting for flash. Sometimes they just want stability. Someone who can run the offense without turning it into chaos. So who could actually try to pry him away? Miami is one. The Dolphins are likely going to try to move on from Tua Tagovailoa. If that happens, the quarterback room gets thin fast, and the connection is straightforward. Bobby Slowick is the Dolphins' offensive coordinator, and while he didn't work directly with Jones, he spent a lot of time on the 49ers staff and was just with Mike McDaniel on the Dolphins last year. The idea is simple. Slowick could believe Jones would pick up his language pretty quickly. Pittsburgh is another. The Steelers hired Mike McCarthy to fix their quarterback issue, and his first job is finding one. Right now they have Mason Rudolph and Will Howard on the roster, so there's a very real chance the answer is outside the building. If they look around and see nothing inspiring, do they call the 49ers? That's the question. Then there's Indianapolis. The Colts are stuck in limbo. They were a healthy quarterback away from a playoff run, but Daniel Jones is a free agent coming off a devastating injury. They don't seem to trust Anthony Richardson, so Jones could become this year's version of Indiana Jones, trying to bring stability to a situation that keeps shaking. Arizona is interesting for a different reason: division curiosity. The Arizona Cardinals could look at a division rival in the Super Bowl, with their starting quarterback being a former backup from the 49ers, and feel a little intrigue. We also don't know who the Cardinals' coach is, but there could be ties to Jones or the 49ers offense there too. At the very least, Arizona feels like a team that's making the call, and Minnesota might be the cleanest fit. The Vikings need someone to push J.J. McCarthy this offseason. It could be similar to Daniel Jones with the Colts, competing with a first-round pick. But also, Jones just has to make it to week 1 healthy, and the job is likely his. And if he had to choose, the thought is he'd want Minnesota. Those wide receivers, an offensive-minded coach, and Kevin O'Connell has shown he can turn around a career. It could be a good fit. The bigger point stays the same. The 49ers are controlling the board here. They warn teams, this isn't a clearance rack. If you want him, you pay. And that leverage matters. Now, while everyone's arguing about trades, drafts, and coordinators, there's one name that never leaves the center of the conversation. Because he was everything in 2025. Because he carried the offense for so much of the year. Christian McCaffrey gave the 49ers an incredible season. Nearly another year with 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. He's an MVP candidate, an Offensive Player of the Year candidate, and a Comeback Player of the Year candidate after a 2024 season where he played just 4 games. But football isn't just one star. It's about efficiency as a unit. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Even with McCaffrey's great all-around year, San Francisco's rushing attack as a team ranked near the bottom of the league. We know Kyle Shanahan likes to impose his will through the run game, so it was frustrating to see the Niners struggle to move the ball effectively on the ground. The numbers in the original argument are right there. McCaffrey had 1,202 rushing yards on 311 attempts, which means he averaged less than 4 yards per attempt. He didn't break many big runs during the regular season either. Only a handful went for more than 20 yards. And with him turning 30 next season, the conversation turns to burst. Not value, not talent. Burst. That doesn't mean the 49ers should move on from him or limit what he does offensively. He's still incredibly dynamic, a true Swiss Army knife in the backfield. But it does mean they should focus on speed when it comes to a backup. Maybe rookie Jordan James showed enough in practice, and in that brief appearance in the 49ers' final playoff game, to get a real shot at being number 2 on the depth chart next season. If not, the 49ers should draft or sign a backup or 2 with some wheels and see if they can unlock something in the rushing attack. Shanahan acknowledged the need to get quicker on offense next season, so he knows it's a deficiency. McCaffrey still does so much, but the lack of burst and speed at this stage is exactly why the Niners need to go out and find that speed and make it a point of emphasis this offseason. So that's where we're at. 4 decisions, 1 shared theme. The future is pressing in. Drafting an eventual successor on the edge isn't just planning, it's protecting the identity. Finding the right defensive coordinator isn't a luxury, it's the tone of the defense. Managing the quarterback market is leverage, and getting faster behind McCaffrey isn't disrespect, it's how you evolve. So I've got to ask you, which one hits first and which one matters most? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want daily Niners talk with real emotion and real football logic, make sure you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.